Wildlife's YouTube vlog channel. If this is your first time tuning in, hello, my name is Margaret and I am the lead wildlife specialist right here at SWC. For this video, we are going to do our making diets part 2. So I wanted to just do 2 parts, but it looks like I'm gonna have to do 3 parts because we just have a lot of animals to feed. So for this part, we're gonna do our reptile room. So we're gonna feed out some reptiles, we're gonna feed out our lizards, snakes, we're also going to feed some of our insects, including our feeder insects. So let's get started. Okay, so starting off with the salads, I feed out our 2 bearded dragons and our blue-tongued skink this type of salad about 3 times a week. I use the calcium with D, and then I also sprinkle a little bit of the not D, so they do get a bunch of extra calcium. Then I usually use a lot of vegetables, a tiny bit of fruit, and then I use a bunch of different kinds of leaves, so like collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, arugula, different things like that. I also use some of these soaked pellets 1 time a week. Now that they're ready to go, let's go feed them out. Days that the animals do not get the salads, I will feed insects. So we are going to first take out our insects and then we are going to feed them. So we're going to remove any old food. I always just double check with our mealworms that there is not a little mealworm like that guy right there. We are going to feed Marley some mealworms. I think that's all we're going to do today for him. I will give him some of the smaller super worms. I also give him a couple of the other stuff. I'll buy different kinds of worms sometimes, just depends on what the stores have around me and what's going on. Crickets are my main feeder. I don't have crickets at this moment in this video, but today we're gonna do worms. So I actually breed our own worms. So you can see different stages. That's a worm, and then that is one of the little in-between stages, and then we have a beetle. So let's grab some worms for Marley. So now that we've got all of our worms, let's feed the worms. So I feed the worms, fruit, and vegetables. I will cut them and then feed them out immediately so that they are nice and hydrated. Now in this next bin, you can see these are our superworm beetles. And then in the little cup, there is 1 superworm. So you have to separate the superworms for them to turn into beetles. So that is why we did that. There's 1 of the beetles. They are a stink bug beetle. And bearded dragons can actually eat all life stages. However, my bearded dragons are picky and they only want worms. Now they are on screen because when the superworms lay eggs, then they will hatch. They will fall underneath and then they will hatch in the superworm bin. So this is the superworm bin that just has worms, no beetles, none of the other life stages, just worms. So again, the eggs will fall through that screen and then into here. We're gonna remove the old food and do the same thing. I'm not gonna feed these guys until after we feed out all of our other animals. So now that we removed all of the old food from the worm bins, we are going to give Marley his worms. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of calcium with D. It's the same thing that I sprinkled on the bearded dragons, but just a different brand, so that's why it looks different. So we're gonna start with Marley. So let's open him up. Now, sometimes I like to just kind of stick this in the hole right here and see if he comes out to say hi and wants to eat something. So a lot of these reptiles are very vision based on movement. There's his little face. Hi, buddy. I can tell just by Marley's color that he is gonna shed. So I gotta make sure that I missed him a little bit today because it looks like he is about to start shedding. And leopard geckos will eat their shed. So I won't really know that he's shed unless I can see that his color is lighter, which I can tell that his color is a little bit lighter. Is that good? So I do like to watch him sometimes, but for now we're gonna actually just put this over here, and I'm gonna tip it on the side like that so that he can come over and eat it whenever he'd like. So that's Big Marley. Next, I'm going to grab this bowl. This is gonna be the bowl that I'm gonna use for the super worms, and we are gonna feed the frog. We're gonna try to feed him and see if he's hungry. Sometimes he's not hungry and sometimes he is. So he's a pretty big frog. You guys can actually see him right in there. It's difficult, but I got it. And then he's gone, that's it. Let's grab some more worms for some of our lizards this time. Or I think for Leroy. He worked this last weekend. He was a really good boy, so I want to feed him a decent amount. I usually feed him anywhere from 3 to 5, depending on what's going on, how much he's eaten earlier that week. So let's feed out Leroy. Obviously super fun to feed because of that tongue. And you spilled your water, I see, sir. Why is it on the ground? And swing and a miss. Not usually talking while you're feeding me. You usually just feed me. Who are you talking to? Good boy, Bubba. Let's get you some water. Alright, have a good day. See you next time. Alright. Now we're gonna do Slash and our bearded dragons. They're still moving. this one we have Sheila. She's down here. Next, we're going to do Gimli. We're going to do the same thing that we do with the other animals. We're going to check their waters. Now, I don't normally feed worms to the tarantulas, so actually I feel like this is her first time getting a worm, but that's good. That's good for the animals to get a variety of food. So let's see if she eats it. For a second, I think, to figure out like what it even was. But then I think she realized like, okay, I think this is food. So now she has him in her jaws and in her arms. She grabbed him with her arms. So looks like we're good here. Good job, Gimli. Next will be Arwen, our emperor scorpion. Starting with her water, then we are going to feed her a worm as well. So the last thing I'm going to do is, this is our reptile diet board. So you can see we have all of our snakes on this side, and I will talk about that side when we do the snake feeding. And then this is our lizards, and that has all of the different diets that they're going to get throughout the week. And then obviously then we have our insects and then our frog Kirby. So for the insects, you can see I have feeding, molt, and then breakdown. So what the feeding, obviously the last time they were fed, and then the molt, the last time that they had molted. Arwen down here does not have a molt because she does not molt. She's a scorpion. Only the tarantulas molt. And then the breakdowns are when the last time each enclosure was broken down. And so right now we're going to go through and we're going to erase just like what we do with the snakes. We're going to erase each one of the feedings, and then we're going to replace. Today is the 11th, 12th. That's it. Let's feed our superworms really quick, and then we'll be done. I want to give a trigger warning for this next part. We will be feeding our snakes thawed frozen mice. So if that's not something you're interested in, you can go ahead and skip this part. So as I just said, we do not feed live rodents here. Now, I don't feed live rodents for a couple of different reasons. So we're going to talk about all of those reasons while I show you some of the clips of the snakes eating their food. Now, only feed the snakes probably about once a week. Little Arrow here eats a little bit more, and then our big ball python only eats about once a month. So everybody's on a little bit different feeding schedule, but for the most part, I try to feed everybody at the same time. Now, as I said previously, we do not feed live. So the first reason that I don't feed live is for the ethical reason of you are throwing in a prey animal in a tank. So they are obviously going to defend themselves. So reason two is that they can actually harm your snakes. If your snake is not hungry, your mouse is going to get hungry, and they could possibly harm your snake. They could harm them while trying to defend themselves. It's just not a great situation. This is not the wild. This is a captive situation. So because this is captive, we can't really simulate what would happen if these guys were in the wild, because they're not wild snakes. One of our snakes, Lagartha, right here, she is a ball python. She would do terribly in the wild. She misses half the time, just like that. She actually does pretty good in this video, actually. There she goes. She got it. So again, she wouldn't do very good in the wild. If you guys have any questions about snake feeding or feeding any of our reptiles, you can go ahead and put your questions in the comments and I will answer them as best I can. Now, fun fact about Bo here is that I actually owned her for almost 10 years before I co-founded the nonprofit. So she doesn't really eat for anybody but me. Sometimes she'll eat for other people, but it's kind of rare. And I have one of our wildlife specialists feeding her in this video, so she didn't want to eat. So we left it there in case she wanted to eat later. Now check out this really cool clip. This is Lagartha again, and she is just now finishing the mouse that we gave her in a couple clips ago. And you can see that she actually dislocated her jaw to be able to get the prey item in there. You can see on the right side of her jaw that dislocation, and she will actually put it back afterwards. She's using her muscles right now and the little scales on the side to be able to push that prey item down into her belly. It is just such a cool adaptation that snakes have made to be able to eat, since they obviously do not chew their food. They do not cut their food in half. They don't eat it with knives and forks like we do. So it's just so crazy. You can see her stretching her neck and then she bends it. See her moving it, working it down. It's just such a cool adaptation. Snakes are truly amazing animals. We're gonna do the same thing we did with the insects, and we're gonna mark which animals we fed and the date. All right, and we fed our reptile room. If you'd like to watch our tortoises eating, then you can find a link in the description to Making Diets Part 1, where we feed the tortoises. All right, guys, well, I hope you liked our reptile feeding video. I hope you guys liked to see some of the snakes. It's really cool, like the way that they've adapted. Make sure you guys stay tuned for our part 3 of Making Diets. This is a series that we've done as each part of our day, which obviously feeding the animals is a huge part. So we have a part 3, which will be the fox and the cat. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications on when we post that next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!